A single man notices a crying child and an exhausted mother in a grocery store parking lot. He makes a split-second decision that will change everything. But here's the twist. Someone was watching, someone powerful. And what happened the next morning? Well, you won't believe it. Stay with me, because this story has layers that will blow your mind. Let me set the scene for you. It's a Tuesday evening in suburban Seattle. The rain is coming down in sheets, you know, that typical Pacific Northwest downpour, where you can barely see 3 feet in front of you. The kind of weather that makes you want to rush home, lock your doors, and curl up with something warm. Marcus Chen, 34 years old, just finished his shift as a physical therapist at a local rehabilitation center. He's tired. His back aches from helping patients all day. All he wants is to grab some groceries and head back to his quiet apartment. Marcus is what you'd call quietly successful. Good job, decent savings, no drama. He lives alone, never married, and honestly, he's mostly okay with that. His life is simple, predictable, peaceful. But tonight, that's all about to change. As Marcus pulls into the Trader Joe's parking lot, wipers working overtime, he almost doesn't see them, almost drives right past. But then his headlights catch movement, a woman crouched down next to a beat-up Honda Civic and a small figure beside her. A child, crying. Now, most people would keep driving. Mind their own business. We live in a world where everyone's fighting their own battles, right? You can't save everyone. But Marcus? Something makes him stop. He grabs his umbrella and jogs over, rain soaking through his scrubs anyway. That's when he sees her clearly. The woman, maybe late 20s, is soaking wet, mascara running down her face mixing with rain and tears. She's frantically trying to comfort a little boy, maybe 6 years old, who's clutching a stuffed dinosaur and sobbing like his world is ending. "Hey," Marcus calls out, holding the umbrella over them. "You folks okay?" The woman looks up, and Marcus sees something in her eyes. Not just sadness, desperation. The kind that comes from being at the absolute end of your rope. "Car won't start," she says, her voice breaking. "And I can't afford a tow truck. I just got off my second shift, and I promised Ethan." She gestures to the boy. "I promised him I'd take him for ice cream because it's been such a hard week. And now." She breaks down completely. The little boy Ethan tugs at his mother's sleeve. "It's okay, Mommy. I don't need ice cream. Please don't cry." And folks, this is the moment. This is where Marcus could have offered to call AAA, wished them luck, and walked away feeling like he did his good deed for the day. But he doesn't. "I'm Marcus," he says. "I'm not a mechanic, but let me take a look. What's happening when you turn the key?" The woman, she introduces herself as Sarah Miller, explains through her tears that it just clicks. Won't turn over at all. Marcus pops the hood. Now, he's no expert, but he knows enough. Dead battery, maybe corroded terminals. In this weather, though, jumping it might not work. And even if it does, she needs a new battery. He does the math in his head. Battery, installation, maybe $150 at the auto shop. Tow truck, another 100 at least. "Listen," Marcus says, ducking back under the umbrella. "Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to run into the store, grab my groceries real quick. Then I'm going to drive you and Ethan home. Tomorrow morning, I'll come back with my portable charger and some tools. If it's the battery, I'll replace it. If it's something else, we'll figure it out." Sarah stares at him like he just offered her a winning lottery ticket. You don't even know us. Why would you do that?" Marcus shrugs. "Because someone helped my mom when I was about Ethan's age and our car broke down. I never forgot it. Come on, let's get you guys out of this rain." During the drive to Sarah's apartment, the story comes tumbling out. Sarah is a single mother. Ethan's father left when the boy was 2, just vanished one day. No explanation, no child support, nothing. She works 2 jobs, receptionist at a dental office during the day and evening shifts at a call center. But here's the kicker. This week, Ethan got in trouble at school. Not for being bad, but for defending another kid who was being bullied. The other kid's parents are connected, wealthy, and they demanded Ethan be suspended. "He was trying to do the right thing," Sarah explains, her voice thick with emotion. "And he gets punished for it. I wanted to take him for ice cream to show him that, even when life isn't fair, good things still happen to good people." From the back seat, Ethan pipes up. "Mom says superheroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they just do what's right, even when it's hard." Marcus glances in the rearview mirror at this kid clutching his dinosaur, and something in his chest tightens. They arrive at Sarah's apartment complex. It's not terrible, but it's clearly not easy. The building needs repairs. The lighting in the parking lot is spotty. This is the housing of someone working 2 jobs and barely keeping their head above water. Marcus helps them to their door. Sarah invites him in, but he declines politely. Get some rest. I'll be at the grocery store parking lot tomorrow at 7 a.m. with everything we need, okay? Sarah's eyes well up again. I don't know how to thank you. Can I at least pay you back for the battery when I get paid on Friday? Let's just fix the car first, Marcus says with a smile. We'll worry about the rest later. What Marcus doesn't know, what he can't know, is that this entire interaction has been observed. Remember how I said this story has layers? Here's where it gets interesting. Across the parking lot, sitting in a sleek black Mercedes, is a man named Richard Caldwell. He's 62, silver-haired, wearing a suit that costs more than most people's monthly rent. Richard Caldwell is what you'd call an elite patron, a venture capitalist, philanthropist, and one of the wealthiest men in the Pacific Northwest. He's on the board of 3 hospitals, 2 universities, and more charitable foundations than I can count. He's at this particular Trader Joe's not because it's convenient, but because it's far from his usual haunts. Sometimes, he explains to people, you need to disconnect from your bubble to stay human. Tonight, he watched the entire scene unfold through his rain-streaked window. He saw Marcus stop. He saw the umbrella shared with strangers. He heard some of the conversation through his cracked window, enough to understand the situation. He watched Marcus take this struggling mother and her son into his own car without hesitation. And Richard Caldwell, a man who built his fortune on reading people and identifying character, recognizes something rare. He pulls out his phone and makes a call. Jennifer, he says to his assistant, who's used to late-night calls, I need you to run a background check. Full workup. Name is Marcus Chen, works as a physical therapist. I'll send you the license plate number. I want to know everything by 6 a.m. tomorrow. Sir, is everything all right? Jennifer asks, concern in her voice. Everything, Richard says, watching Marcus's taillights disappear into the rain, is about to be very interesting. Marcus wakes up at 5:30 a.m. He stops at AutoZone before they even open, waiting in his car until the doors unlock at 6. He buys a new battery, checks his toolbox, and makes sure he has jumper cables just in case. By 6:45 a.m., he's back at the Trader Joe's parking lot. Sarah's Honda is right where they left it, looking sad and abandoned in the gray morning light. At exactly 7 a.m., he sees Sarah and Ethan walking up from the bus stop. Sarah looks embarrassed. You actually came, she says, and there's wonder in her voice, like she didn't quite believe this stranger would keep his promise. Of course, Marcus replies. Let's get this car running. He pops the hood, and it's definitely the battery. Terminals are corroded. The battery itself is swollen and clearly past its prime. 30 minutes of work, some wire brushing, and installation of the new battery later, the Honda roars to life. Ethan jumps up and down, clutching his dinosaur. You fixed it! You fixed Mommy's car! Sarah is crying again, but this time with relief. How much do I owe you? Please, I insist on paying you back. Marcus is about to wave her off when a voice cuts through the morning air. Excuse me. They all turn. There's Richard Caldwell standing there in another expensive suit, briefcase in hand, looking completely out of place in this grocery store parking lot. Marcus Chen? Richard asks, though clearly he already knows the answer. Marcus nods, confused. Yes? Do I know you? Not yet, Richard says with a slight smile. He turns to Sarah. And you must be Sarah Miller and Ethan. Now everyone's confused. Sarah instinctively pulls Ethan closer. Richard raises his hands in a peaceful gesture. I apologize for the intrusion. My name is Richard Caldwell. I was here last night and I witnessed what happened. I saw your kindness, Mr. Chen, and I've spent the last 12 hours learning about both of you. Sarah's face pales. You? Investigated us? Richard's expression softens. I know how that sounds. Please, let me explain. I've spent 40 years in business and philanthropy, and I've learned that the rarest commodity in this world isn't gold or oil or technology. It's genuine human decency without expectation of return. He looks at Marcus. You stopped for strangers in the rain. You spent your own money and time to help someone you'd never met. You asked for nothing in return. Then he turns to Sarah. And Miss Miller, I learned about your situation. 2 jobs, raising a son alone, and still teaching him to stand up for others even when it costs him. That takes character. I don't understand, Marcus says slowly. What do you want? Richard opens his briefcase and pulls out 3 envelopes. Mr. Chen, I run several medical facilities and rehabilitation centers in this region. I learned you graduated top of your class in physical therapy, that your patients give you outstanding reviews, and that you volunteer at a free clinic twice a month, something not even your employer knows about. Marcus shifts uncomfortably. It's not a big deal. It's a huge deal, Richard corrects. I'm offering you a position as Director of Physical Therapy at Caldwell Medical Center. Salary is triple what you're making now. Full benefits and a signing bonus. He hands Marcus the first envelope. Marcus stands there, envelope in hand, unable to process what he's hearing. Richard turns to Sarah. Miss Miller, I also learned that you have a bachelor's degree in business administration, but took whatever jobs you could find to support your son. I have a position open for an operations coordinator at one of my companies. Salary is $85,000 a year, full benefits, daycare assistance, and flexible hours, so you can actually be present for Ethan's childhood. He hands her the second envelope. Sarah's hands shake so badly she almost drops it. This can't be real. Why? Because I believe in investing in character, Richard says simply. I've given millions to people with impressive resumes who turned out to have none. Last night, I watched a stranger with wet scrubs share his umbrella with a crying child. That told me more than any resume ever could. Ethan tugs on Richard's sleeve. The billionaire looks down at the 6-year-old with a dinosaur. Are you Santa Claus? Ethan asks seriously. Everyone laughs, breaking the tension. Not quite, Richard says, crouching down to Ethan's level. But I do have something for you. He hands Ethan the third envelope. Inside is a certificate for a full scholarship to Clearwater Academy, one of the best private schools in the state, covering kindergarten through 12th grade. Wait, Sarah gasps. That school costs $40,000 a year, Richard finishes. Fully covered, because your son stood up for someone who couldn't defend themselves. That's exactly the kind of student Clearwater needs. Marcus finally finds his voice. Mr. Caldwell, this is incredibly generous, but I have to ask, why go to these lengths? There are good people helping others every day. Richard stands up, his expression growing more serious. You're right, and that's exactly the problem. I don't see it every day. Not really. He gestures for them to sit on a nearby bench. Let me tell you a story. 30 years ago, I was worth about $50 million. I was at a business conference in Chicago, feeling very important. I got food poisoning, violently ill. I was alone, miserable, crawling toward the hotel bathroom at 2 a.m. A housekeeper found me. Woman named Rosa, probably made minimum wage. She didn't just help me to the bathroom. She stayed with me for hours, brought me water, called the front desk for medicine, cleaned up well, let's just say she went way beyond her job description. Richard's eyes grow distant with the memory. The next morning, I tried to tip her $1,000. She refused, said she was just being human. That money had nothing to do with it. I insisted. Finally, she took $50 and told me if I really wanted to thank her, I should pay it forward when I saw someone else in need. I never forgot Rosa. I tried to find her years later to do something meaningful for her, but she'd passed away. Cancer, left behind 3 kids and a mountain of medical debt that I was able to clear, at least. He looks at Marcus and Sarah. Since then, I've made it my mission to find people like Rosa. People who help without calculating the return. Do you know how rare that is? Sarah wipes her eyes. So you just watch parking lots waiting for good deeds? Richard laughs. No. But I do pay attention to the world around me. And when I see something remarkable, I investigate. Not everyone gets an offer, obviously. But you two? He shakes his head. What I saw last night was instinct. Marcus didn't think about helping. He just did it. Sarah, you're working yourself to the bone but still teaching your son about character over comfort. That's not common. Okay, Marcus says slowly. I'm waiting for the catch. What do you want from us? Is this some kind of reality show? Are there cameras? No cameras, Richard assures him. But you're right that there's more to this. Here it comes, Sarah thinks, her brief hope deflating. The catch, as you call it, is that I want you to pay it forward, Richard continues. Marcus, in your new position, you'll have a discretionary fund. I want you to use it to help patients who can't afford care. Sarah, part of your role will be identifying and supporting charitable initiatives within the company. He looks at both of them seriously. I'm not asking you to become me. I'm asking you to stay you, to keep being the people who help without being asked. And yes, I'm betting money on the fact that you will. And if we don't, Sarah asks, then you don't. The jobs are real, the salaries are real. There's no fine print that takes them away, but I don't think that'll be a problem. Richard stands up. I've learned to trust my instincts about people, and my instincts are very good. He hands Marcus a business card. My direct line. Call me when you've thought about it. The offers stand for 1 week. As Richard walks toward his Mercedes, Ethan runs after him. Mr. Caldwell. The billionaire turns, and Ethan hands him the stuffed dinosaur. What's this? Richard asks gently. For luck, Ethan says. My daddy gave it to me before he left. Mom says I should give lucky things to people who need them more. Richard's eyes grow suspiciously bright. He crouches down again. That's very kind, Ethan, but I think you should keep this. Your dad gave it to you. But you're trying to find more good people, right? That's hard. You need the luck more than me. Ethan's logic is irrefutable. Richard accepts the dinosaur with a solemn nod. I'll take very good care of it. Thank you, Ethan. After Richard drives away, Sarah and Marcus stand in stunned silence. Did that just happen? Sarah finally asks. I think so, Marcus replies, staring at the envelope in his hands. They sit in Sarah's newly fixed car, both afraid to open the envelopes like Schrodinger's cat. As long as they don't look, the possibility remains perfect and unspoiled. What if it's not real? Sarah whispers. What if it is? Marcus counters. Sarah laughs, a slightly hysterical edge to it. I can't even. I was crying in a parking lot 12 hours ago because I couldn't afford ice cream for my son. Now someone's offering me a job that would change our entire lives. Because you're a good mom teaching your kid good values, Marcus points out. That's not nothing, Sarah. And you're getting a director position because you helped a stranger with car trouble. They look at each other, and suddenly they're both laughing. The kind of laughter that comes from emotional overload, from the absurdity of life's unexpected turns. Open yours, Sarah says. I'm too scared. Marcus carefully opens his envelope. Inside is a formal job offer letter, exactly as Richard described. There's also a check, the signing bonus, for $25,000. Oh my God, Marcus breathes. Sarah opens hers with shaking hands. Her offer letter is there, along with information about the daycare program and a check for $10,000 marked relocation assistance if needed. This is real, Sarah says, tears streaming down her face again. Ethan, baby, this is real. But Marcus is quiet, staring at his letter. What's wrong? Sarah asks. This is amazing. It is, Marcus agrees. It's just. I keep thinking about what he said, about paying it forward, about how rare it is to see people just helping each other. And I don't think I'm special, Marcus admits. I just did what seemed right. There are probably hundreds of people who would have done the same thing. Sarah shakes her head. Marcus, I've been broken down before. I've had car trouble, money trouble, every kind of trouble. You know how many people stopped to help before you? 0. Not one person. 3 months later, Marcus is settling into his new role at Caldwell Medical Center. The job is challenging but fulfilling in ways his previous position never was. He's developed a program to provide free physical therapy services to low-income patients, funded by the discretionary budget Richard mentioned. One evening, he's leaving the facility when he sees a young woman struggling with her wheelchair on the sidewalk. One of the wheels is stuck. Without thinking, Marcus stops and helps her. Thank you so much, she says, relieved. I'm new to this chair, still getting used to it. No problem, Marcus replies. Actually, if you ever need help with mobility issues, we have a program here that might interest you. He gives her information about the free PT services. The woman tears up. I've been trying to afford therapy for months. This would change everything. As Marcus walks to his car, he realizes that this small moment of stopping to help, it's exactly what Richard was talking about, the ripple effect of kindness. Meanwhile, Sarah is thriving in her new role. The job is perfect for her skills, and for the first time in years, she's home for dinner with Ethan every night. She's even started dating again, a teacher at Ethan's new school who admires how she's raising her son. Ethan is flourishing at Clearwater Academy. He's still the same kid who stands up for others, but now he's in an environment that celebrates that rather than punishes it. His teachers report that he often talks about Mr. Marcus and Mr. Caldwell, and how superheroes help people even when no one's watching. One day, Sarah gets a call from Richard's assistant. Would she be available for lunch with Mr. Caldwell? At the restaurant, Richard gets straight to the point. I wanted to update you on something. Remember the parents who demanded Ethan be suspended? Sarah stiffens. That family had made her life hell. Their son came forward, Richard continues. Admitted that he'd been lying about what happened. Said Ethan actually saved him from bigger kids who were hurting him. The guilt had been eating at the boy. Ethan never told me that part, Sarah says softly. Because he didn't want to get anyone in trouble, Richard explains. The families apologized formally, and the schools expunged Ethan's record. But here's the interesting part. That boy's parents want to meet you. They're mortified by their behavior and want to make amends. Sarah doesn't know what to say. You don't have to meet them, Richard assures her. But I wanted you to know that good character has a way of revealing itself. Ethan's story got around the school. He's something of a legend now, the kid who protected a bully's victim and took the punishment without complaint. 6 months in, Marcus has his own revelation. He's working with a patient, an elderly veteran with severe mobility issues. The man can't afford ongoing treatment, but Marcus has been seeing him anyway under the free program. One day, the veteran's daughter visits. She thanks Marcus profusely, then says something that stops him cold. Dad told me what you're doing here, helping people who can't pay. He said it reminds him of his physical therapist from 30 years ago. Man who treated him for months, never charged him a dime. Dad was homeless at the time, fresh from Vietnam, nowhere to go. That therapist changed his life. Marcus goes very still. Do you remember the therapist's name? Sure. Dad talks about him all the time. Andrew Chen. Andrew Chen, Marcus's father. That night, Marcus calls his mom. Did Dad ever tell you about treating a homeless veteran for free? His mother laughs. Oh, honey, your father did that for dozens of people over the years. He never talked about it much. Said helping people wasn't supposed to be about recognition. Why didn't you ever tell me? Because your father didn't want it to sound like bragging, she explains gently. But yes, helping people without expectation of reward was his whole philosophy. It's why he became a physical therapist in the first place. Marcus hangs up, stunned. All this time, he thought he was just following a random impulse when he helped Sarah. But maybe it was deeper than that. Maybe he'd absorbed his father's values so completely that helping others had become instinct. He thinks about Richard's words. Character isn't taught. It's demonstrated. His father had demonstrated it. Now Marcus was demonstrating it. And somewhere, someone was watching and learning, just as Marcus had learned from his dad. The cycle continues. Almost exactly 1 year after that rainy night in the parking lot, Richard Caldwell hosts a small dinner party. It's just him, Marcus, Sarah, Ethan, and a few other people Marcus and Sarah don't recognize yet. Thank you all for coming, Richard begins. I want to introduce you to each other. Marcus and Sarah meet James, Elena, and David. The 3 newcomers smile warmly. These 3, Richard explains, are what I call my parking lot discoveries from the past 5 years. James, it turns out, was a firefighter who rescued a family from a burning building on his day off, then stayed to help them find temporary housing. Richard hired him to run his Emergency Preparedness Foundation. Elena was a teacher who spent her own money buying school supplies for underprivileged kids. She now runs educational programs for Richard's Scholarship Foundation. David was a homeless man who returned a lost wallet containing $10,000 in cash, money he desperately needed. He's now Richard's Community Outreach Director. We meet once a year, Richard explains, to remind ourselves why we're doing what we're doing, to check in with each other, and to celebrate the fact that kindness isn't dead, it's just sometimes hard to spot. Over dinner, they share stories. James talks about the Community Emergency Response Program he's built. Elena describes the thousands of kids who've received school supplies and scholarships. David shares how he's helping other homeless individuals find housing and employment. Sarah talks about the initiatives she started at the company, employee volunteer programs, charitable matching, community outreach. Marcus describes how his free PT program has expanded to 3 facilities and helped over 200 patients. And what about you, Ethan? Richard asks the boy, who's been quietly listening. What have you learned this year? Ethan thinks carefully. I learned that sometimes bad things happen, but good people make them better. And I learned that my mom is a superhero, and Mr. Marcus is a superhero, and you're a superhero, and that superheroes don't always have powers. They just care about people. The table is silent for a moment. Then Richard reaches into his pocket and pulls out something small. It's Ethan's stuffed dinosaur. I believe this belongs to you, Richard says, handing it back to the boy. You were right, it brought me luck. It helped me remember why I do what I do. Ethan hugs the dinosaur, then looks at Richard seriously. You can borrow it whenever you need luck. As the dinner winds down, Marcus pulls Richard aside. Can I ask you something? That night in the parking lot, was it really chance that you were there? Richard smiles enigmatically. What do you think? I think maybe you make your own chances. That maybe you go to regular places away from your usual world because you're looking for something specific. And what am I looking for? Proof, Marcus says slowly, working it out as he speaks. Proof that people are fundamentally good. Proof that kindness still exists. Proof that your money can support something real rather than just making rich people richer. Richard's smile grows. You're perceptive. That's why you're good at what you do. So it wasn't chance. Oh, it was absolutely chance. Richard corrects. I can't predict when or where I'll see something meaningful. But I can put myself in positions where I'm more likely to witness it. I frequent ordinary places, I pay attention, and when I see something remarkable, I act on it. He looks back at the dinner table, where Sarah is laughing at something Elena said, and Ethan is showing David his dinosaur. The thing is, Marcus, people like you and Sarah are everywhere. You're not unique in your capacity for kindness, but you are unique in your follow-through. Lots of people feel bad when they see someone struggling. Fewer people stop. Even fewer people inconvenience themselves to help. And very, very few people do it without calculation. Is that what the background checks are for? To make sure we weren't calculating? Partly, Richard admits, but also to understand context. Sarah could have been bitter about her situation. Single mother, working 2 jobs, son gets punished for doing the right thing. That would be understandable. But instead, she was teaching Ethan that kindness matters even when it costs you. That's not common. And me? You stopped in the rain for strangers. Your background check showed a pattern. The volunteer work you never mentioned to anyone. The patients you'd help for reduced rates. The colleague whose student loans you'd quietly help pay off. Marcus looks startled. How did you know about that? I'm thorough, Richard says simply. The point is, you have a history of helping people without seeking recognition. That's the character I look for. But why, Marcus presses. You could invest this money in traditional charity, food banks, homeless shelters, medical research. Why invest in individuals? Richard leans against the wall, considering his answer. Because I believe change happens person by person, not policy by policy. Food banks are necessary and important. I fund several. But they treat symptoms. I'm interested in treating causes. And the cause is? Isolation, disconnection, the death of community, Richard says. We live in a world where people can walk past someone in need without seeing them, where everyone's so busy, so stressed, so overwhelmed that stopping to help feels impossible. But people like you and Sarah stop anyway. And when you stop, you remind others that stopping is possible, that we're not so busy, so stressed, so separate that we can't care for each other. He pushes off the wall. Every person I invest in becomes a center point for change. You're not just helping patients, Marcus. You're modeling behavior for every therapist who works with you. Sarah's not just coordinating programs, that sees, showing her coworkers what integrity looks like. James, Elena, David, all the others. They're all creating ripples. And the ripples spread, Marcus says, understanding. Exactly. That veteran's daughter you helped? She told someone about the free program. That someone told someone else. Now you have volunteers, donors, people asking how they can contribute. One act of kindness in a parking lot has led to hundreds of people getting help. Marcus feels the weight of it. That's a lot of pressure. No, Richard corrects gently. Pressure is trying to be someone you're not. All I'm asking is that you keep being exactly who you were that rainy night. Just do it with more resources.